Oh yeah. Here we go then. Right, so first pair of cars in VWDRC Heads Up qualifying. As I said earlier, we run top fuel style points, so there are 3 bonus points available for the fastest runner in each qualifier, 2 for the second, 1 for the third fastest. So each round is worth going for a PB. Jose Lake with the TDI Polo taking on Ant Mincher with the 20 valve turbo Mark 1. Good little side-by-side start for both cars. Door to door all the way. Jose Lake's going to get there first and goes through with a 1081 at 131 to an 1192 at 100 miles an hour for Anthony Mincher, only gaining 2 miles an hour between the 8th mile and the 100 mile, but still goes 1192, so he is qualified. Right, eyes down on the start line. Helder Puto or Helder Piera with the Seat. This has gone down into the 9s before. TDI taking on Ethan Lyle with his 20 valve turbo VW Lupo. Now, because it's qualifying, reaction times do not matter as much, but it is all about putting in a good pass down the quarter mile. Helder doing 96 at the 8th and goes through with 1147 at 117, making him a qualified. Ethan Lyle 1530 at 87. As we said earlier, couldn't get the slicks on the car, unfortunately, so he's going to have problems getting the traction down. Now, this is what I love about this class, the mix of vehicles. So you've seen some diesels, you've seen some petrol front-wheel drives. Now we've got a rear-wheel drive Porsche 944 with a 20 valve turbo up front, taking on Becky Turnock with the air-cooled Beetle, Ruby Blue. Okay, so both cars come up at stage. Now, Becky trying to get as many revs off the start line. So Bruce at the 8th mile is doing 97 miles an hour. That should be good enough for an 11-second pass. 1184 at 120. And Becky Turnock goes through with a 1349 at 100 miles an hour. I'm going to assume the nitrous not on for that run. Right, big old burnout for Jacob Bailey down there with the R32 Turbo Jetta. Brand new slicks on there, so he's got to bet them in. He is desperate to get his first 9-second run. It was his birthday yesterday. Can he get it for this weekend? He's taking on Chris Waterhouse with the 4-wheel drive Audi. Wow, that 60 foot is not what Jacob wanted, 195. He's got the power to go deep into the 10s anyway at the top end. Goes 107 at the 8th, goes 1082 at 139. Oh, and an 1122 at 124. Nitrous work in there for Chris Waterhouse. That is a massive PB. Right, next up, Team J's Garage. We've got the four-wheel drive TFSI Mark 1 Jetta taking on the front-wheel drive 20-valve turbo Cabriolet. Well, nothing to write home about with these two cars for the first runs, 15:37 at 96 and 14:16 at 115. Now, 115 would have been good enough for an 11-second pass, but obviously issues there for Jamie. Right, next up, Dave Lee with the nitrous-assisted R32 Mark III Golf, taking on Geordie with the four-wheel drive 20-valve turbo Polo. Now, Geordie starts, and never anything to write home about at the moment. But you can see him clearly making power at half track. And issues for Dave, unfortunately. He pulls over to the side. So 12.15 at 137 for Geordie. Doesn't get him qualified, unfortunately. Has to be an 11.99. So we have bonus points for, I believe that is 39, Jacob, and 264. VWDRC Heads Up qualifying round number 2. Jose Late is number 1 qualifier with that Polo, the TDI Polo. He's taking on Bruce Capaz. So unfortunately, Bruce having all sorts of issues on the start line. See, Bruce is running the drag radials on the back. Keep telling him to put some slicks on. 10.40 at 131 for Jose Late.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a massive personal best. I say massive, it's right from 10.56, but when you get down to these quicker times, that
makes all the difference.
Harder,
yeah, of course it does. Of course it does.
10.40. I've got to turn that off and get a photo of that. Posting that, well done. So, time to beat number 1 qualifier,
Put
Jose
himself
Late.
into the top spot. Lovely.
Right, so Helder Piera with the Seat Ibiza. He's taking on Becky Turnock with the VW Beetle.
I really like this Beetle. Saw it in the pits. Beautiful.
So Helder's currently number 4 qualifier with an 11.47. Just waiting for Becky.
Looking good on the Christmas tree.
Wow. Hard left. You see the little the smoke rings?
It's like a steam engine blasting down the track.
It's not going to be one of his quickest runs, only doing 97 at the 8th, but goes 11.50 at 115. And Becky improves their time a little bit with a 13.92 at 94. Right, next up we have got Mark 1 Golf and Mark 2 Jetta. 20-valve turbo versus R32 turbo. Jacob's got the GoPro on the side, pointing backwards, so he's hoping to be pulling away from Ant Mincher. Jacob's currently number 2 qualifier with a 10.82 and is currently in the qualifying number 6 with an 11.92. So again, heads up racing, first to the finish. This is only qualifying, the second of 3 qualifiers.
But of course, qualifying matters, is very, very important to try and get as best as you can draw in that tournament later on.
So we got 113 at the 8th, 10.53.
That's some good times there.
10.9.
Really good times.
So number 1 and number 2 qualifier as well. So Ant Mincher jumps up into number 3 place.
Good stuff. And as the day goes on, will you see that improve more and more and more?
He should get quicker and quicker, yeah, right. Paul Jordan with this, I mean, when he takes the parachute off this, you could be fooled to think it's just a standard road street car.
Yeah, totally.
So 20-valve turbo, 4-wheel drive in both vehicles. Chris Waterhouse has been down into the 11s, but Paul Jordan has been down into the 9s before with this Polo. Just got to get the launch sorted. Both of the cars, they're launching and gripping and bogging.
A bit dodgy.
Now the thing is, that gives confidence to the other racers. Because if they see that when we're actually racing,
yeah,
that's going to give you confidence. Right, 11.84 at 143 gets Paul Jordan into the show and qualified number 4 provisionally.
And it kind of goes back to what we were saying early on this morning, for those who might have just missed it, that where we were saying that, you know, people are going to try and push for those times to not only qualify to get through, but also if you've hit a 10.4, a 10.5, you now know you can when it matters, and you've already done it once, so you know that confidence builds.
That's it. That's it. So behind us, Dave Lee with the R32 nitrous-assisted Mark III will be taking on Ben Lomas with his 20-valve turbo Cabriolet. Now, Ben is one of the guys, he's not yet run the 1199, but he worked out it was cheaper to come and race in the class than it is to go do the run what you brung. You've got to have all your race gear and stuff like that, so you've got to pay out for all that, but it gives him the chance to chase for his 1199. Technically, the engine that is in there should do an 11. Has got a 20-valve turbo with a GT30. It makes some decent power. But as you can see there, when he launched, he come off boost.
It's just learning the car, isn't it?
Yeah, at 116 for Dave Lee. And a 16.6. And again, like you said, it's just learning the car for Ben. Now, he's here tomorrow as well, because we've got a test day tomorrow. So he's getting a few runs today, and he'll continue on tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see that car get quicker and quicker. Right. Ethan Lyle couldn't get some slicks on the car, so he's having to run on treaded tyres, which is not going to help him. He's going to struggle to make the 11.99 cut-off, but he doesn't care. He's enjoying himself. He'll end up in Run What You Brung.
Yeah, he's always here. I mean, he was here at Bug Jam earlier this month as well.
He's back here this weekend. In fact, he's staying here all week. He's not going home. Because
he lives here.
Because we're racing back next weekend from Thursday for Greenlight. He's just basically staying here and doing the camping for the week thing.
Fair enough. Why not?
Jamie Lockyer with the Jetta, 14.36 at 121 now. Unfortunately, getting that car to launch, he hasn't driven it for, what, a year and a bit. Wow. It has been down into 11s, making 350 horsepower. Now it's making near on 500 horsepower, but it's all about seat time in the car. But he's got one more run to get that seat time. Down there, we're back from lunch. We are VWDRC Heads Up qualifying round number 3. Final qualifier. If they have not run an 11.99, they have to do it now. Otherwise, that is their racing done for the day, and they'll be joining in the Run What You Run queue. We are currently missing number 1 qualifier, Jose Late. He is actually in the pits swapping the motor out as he's hurt the motor. So he has literally got, what, an hour and a half to get a motor swapped over, and he'll be making eliminations round number 1. Bruce Capaz with the Porsche broke both drive shafts on the Porsche, so I don't know whether they're trying to get that fixed. But it's all go as ever in the VWDRC pits. So throughout the day, do go and chat to some of our racers, find out the setups, and also give them a little bit of encouragement as we go into qualifying round number 3. Right, so Dave Lee, he's qualified. He ran an 11.86 earlier. Here is our number 8 qualifier. Paul Jordan ran an 11.83 with the 4-wheel drive Polo. That's a little bit better off the start. Still a terrible 60-foot. But now he can put the power in at the top end. Can he do something to threaten the rest of the crew as he goes through with a 10.46 at 146 to make him number 2 qualifier, and a 12.49 for Dave Lee with the Mark III Golf. Right, next up, the Rollin' P Racing Lupo. Ethan Lyle at the wheel, taking on Anthony Mincher with the Mark I Golf. Now, Ethan is currently qualified 12th with a 17.19, so he's basically got to drop a good, 5 seconds off his time to get qualified, which is probably not going to happen. So he'll be going into Run What You Brung, but he's taking on Anthony Mincher, who is currently qualified 4th with a 10.94. Well, the GoPro on the side of Ethan's car, capturing Anthony's car, driving away, and he goes through the top end with an 11.67 at 115. And Ethan goes through with a 15.66, best run of his day at 85 miles an hour. And unfortunately, that is his day done. in competition. Right, Jacob Bailey with the R32 Jetta. He is currently third with a 10.53. He's going to be taking on Becky Turnock, who is our number 9 qualifier with a 13.92. Okay, so both cars into pre-stage. Well, not the best 60 foot for Jacob at 186. At the 8th mile doing 113. It should be going down into the 10s. 1071 at 140. Oh, nice. 12.90 at 105 for Becky Turner. She'll be super happy with that. Getting her first 12 of the weekend. Right, next up, Ben Lomas with the Cabriolet, taking on Jamie Lockyer with the Jetta now. Unfortunately, Jamie's got a lot of power in that, but he's got throttle body issues, so he's just motoring on through. He's going to be gutted that he's not going to make it into eliminations. 14.43 at 100 miles an hour for Ben Lomas, his best run of the weekend. But unfortunately, that is the end of racing for those two cars. Bruce has managed to get into the lanes, and down here he's got 2 new drive shafts on the Porsche. He's going to be taking on Helder Piera with the Seat Ibiza. Now, Helder's had a few issues today. Not had the usual performance he can get. Best run so far has been 11.47. That's a better launch for Helder, 1.7, 160 foot, but unfortunately issues with the car and very sensibly pulls over to the side. Bruce doing 93 at the 8th and goes through with a 12.80 at 104, but he is already qualified from a previous round of 11.84. Chris Waterhouse just below us is our final heads-up qualifier. Okay, so it's going to be a solo run. 11.22, Chris ran in qualifying round number 1, I think it was. 170, 60 foot. The 8th mile doing 86, so not going to be an 11-second pass this time. Goes through with a 12.47 at 101. And it is us done for qualifying. Black or white, petrol or diesel, England versus Portugal, whatever you want.
The winner couldn't find one. They didn't find one for 9.
Now Jacob's best has been a 10.2, Helder has been 9.9 before. Abby's feeling confident, she's got the camera on Helder's car, pointing towards Jacob Bailey. Rosie gets a face full of soot there. Right then, here we go, qualifying, done. Eliminations now, round 1. Got to be good reaction times now as the lights drop. Reaction times don't come up, they are pretty similar. Oh, issues for Helder, so it's going to be all Jacob. 170, 60 foot, 109 at the 8th, and a 10.46 at 139. The Vos is happy. Jacob Bailey rolls on to the next round. Now, as you saw in qualifying, some of the cars had terrible reaction times. That's because it didn't matter. It was literally just set in a time. Now we are into racing. They need to cut a good light. It could mean the difference between the start line and the finish line. Anthony Mincher should have been facing Chris Waterhouse. We do have Team Waterhouse in the grandstand. Hopefully he had a cracking weekend. So it's going to be a solo run for Anthony. Well, 2.160 foot, 99 at the 8th, and looks like he's cruising through at the top end. 11.90 at 117. He moves on to the next round, where he will be facing against Jose Late or David Lee. Next pairing. Should be a good little race. Paul Jordan with the 4-wheel drive 20-valve turbo Polo, taking on the rear-wheel drive 20-valve turbo of Bruce Capaz with the Dirty Martini. Well, calendar-like reaction times for both cars. And this is going to be a clear winner for Paul Jordan as he pulls away at the top end, goes 11.93 at 132. And Bruce goes through with a 13.07 at 106. Right, round of applause. Jose Late and the team monstering on, swapping a motor between qualifying round 2 and eliminations round 1. He's made it down. He's going to be facing against Dave Lee, the giant killer who won round 1. Great reaction time for Jose, but looks like issues for him. So Dave is powering on through. Jose's lifted, and Dave Lee does it again. Goes on to the semi-final with an 11.86 at 115. Right, VWDRC Heads Up semi-final.
Whoa, semi-final time.
So
this is where we get down to business.
The winner of this race is guaranteed £50.
Woo!
Give me your money. I want your boots, your clothes. Jacob Bailey, R32 turbo, front-wheel drive. Paul Jordan, 20-valve turbo, 4-wheel drive. Both of these cars capable of going deep into the 10s. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Heads Up Racing, first to the finish. Jacob's into full stage. The lights go.
Here we go.
Reaction times are almost identical. Jacob is out there. 163.
He's gone. He's gone.
113 of the 8th. Oh, 10.19.
What a score.
New personal. Look at Bruce run. Bruce, you better cheer like that for me. You better cheer like that for me tomorrow. Oh, Jacob Bailey.
That was impressive. That was great.
Oh, it's nice
wow.
to see PB.
Wow.
So guaranteed £50 English. Right, this is going to be a really good race. 2 high 11-second cars. Looks like issues for Geordie down at the top end as he's slowly making the corner. So front-wheel drive 20-valve turbo versus front-wheel drive R32. Anthony Mincher versus Dave Lee.
Looking good.
Taking their time to come into stage. Dave's creeping up.
There we go.
Oh,
no. Oh, no.
Unfortunately, Anthony creeps through stage and red lights. So Dave Lee, yet again, is into the final.
He is going to be gutted about that false start.
Dave goes through with a 12.12 at 112. Well, he was very, very close. So the thing is, once you go into stage, you have 7 seconds to get into stage. So he was within the time. Otherwise, the tree will automatically go. But unfortunately, Anthony couldn't hold the car in stage for any longer. And unfortunately, goes red.
That is gutting.
So, do you know what? I said at the start, Jacob Bailey versus Dave Lee in the final. A boom.
No. Dave, though, only just through that time, though.
Right, here we go then, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
So it is the final of VWDRC Heads Up. Hopefully you have enjoyed these guys putting on a show for you.
Yeah, what we've been building up to all day long between these two.
So Jacob Bailey with the R32 Turbo with nitrous. Front-wheel drive Jetta taking on Dave Lee with a normally aspirated R32 with nitrous.
I can hear it.
Both giving it the full arm movement.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so
All right.
choose your car. Mark III Golf, Mark II Jetta. Do you like your turbos or do you like your cars normally aspirated, shaken, not stirred?
For the winner of the VWDRC between these two at Das Auto Santa Pod 2021.
Here we go then.
Here we go, Santa Pod.
Both in the pre-stage. Jacob's going to bring up the car on the two-step, smoking a little bit on the start line. Neither car wants to go in, ladies and gentlemen. Jacob's in. Dave's going to slowly bring it in. Here we go. Lights are green. Dave got the better reaction time, but the 60-foot is for Jacob Bailey. 163 at the 8th mile, 109. Jacob goes 10.12 and 133 for a new personal best.
Wow. And what a start from both cars as well. Incredible.
There you go.
I literally jumped in the tower then for that.
Good.
That was beautiful.
There you go. Congratulations, Jacob Bailey.